And before we get into the thick of things about how the whole saga unfolded, let's go back to 1970s for a moment. You write in your book that you were a US Navy midshipman. What do you remember of your first position those early days?
Well, I was in college during the Vietnam War, and in the U.S. at that time, it was never a question of whether you would serve, but how you serve. And I had the good fortune of being accepted into a naval officers program.
Hmm.
I was commissioned in 1970 and immediately set off for the Mediterranean on a destroyer, as first as a gunnery officer and then as a navigator. So I remember a great deal because these were formative years serving as a gunnery officer on a naval advanced destroyer was quite a challenge. And these were difficult times. Ironically, as I look at some of the turbulence in the Middle East today, it was turbulence in the Middle East that brought me on my first trip to the Mediterranean and for the first time brought me to Greece.
Yeah, and before the world of caviars and French wine you enjoyed as a banker, you survived for 5 weeks at sea on powdered milk and potatoes before you landed into Greece,
Well,
did you?
it does happen sometimes. You know, combatants never carry enough store for more than 2 weeks or so at sea. And so when you're out there for an extended period of time, you need to hook up with a supply ship. Or in our case, we were too busy to be
Right.
resupplied. And we had to go straight to a region of turmoil off the coast of Jordan. And this was a period called Black September in the history of the Middle East when many terrorists tried to overthrow the government of Jordan. And so we did have to survive off a lot of powdered milk and powdered eggs. But, the military
Yeah.
teaches you discipline. It teaches you survival during hardship. And there were a lot of soldiers and sailors who went through much tougher times than I did.